mysteries embraced. Captain's quarters sets the pace with Captain Mayhem at the helm. A voyage of knowledge, a story to round. Captain's quarters weekly delight, where history's treasures take flight. Led by Mayhem, Longwood, and Joe, they explore the past, row by row. Navigator Longwood charts the course, guiding listeners to knowledge's source. Cartographer Joe, with maps in hand, unveils the...
Hey, welcome to Captain's Quarters Podcast. How come my hat looks like it's on crooked? Welcome to Captain's Quarters Podcast. This is episode 183. It is the 28th of April, and I just realized this afternoon that 2025 is 1/3 of the way gone already. 4 months have gone. How about that? And welcome to Mandy Joe out there in Utah. Hello there, lovely. And to Navigator Longwood there in St. Augustine. We're here to give you another show and hopefully share some ideas. Tonight's going to be a bit on the lazy, laid-back side because, well, I now have a headache for the last hour and a half and I just need to relax. And it's also the first week we've had an opportunity to really just sit down and do a relaxing show, because it's the first week in the last 4 months that we haven't had a plethora of school tours at the Pirate Museum. So we'll see what happens. So I see Black Ball from White Sands over in Panama City, and I see Gene from our own St. Augustine Swashbucklers, and there's Zachary Wolf Parker from Michigan. We're hoping that some of the rest of them will pop in. But for now, Davey, how do we find the show? And there's Will the Historian. Go ahead. There it is. Go to YouTube. Use that QR code. Like, follow, and subscribe to us. Then you can be a part of our online YouTube Captain's Quarters Podcast crew. We'd love to have each and every one of you be in there and being a part of our show. So use the QR code, follow along, and be a part of everything we do every week. I thank you very much, Davey, for posting that. I'm going to do this real quick because Will the Historian is on, and as most everybody that follows the show knows, that is my son, and this is the newest addition to their family. This is my granddaughter, Abigail Hope McCrae, and she was born on Friday morning at 1:22 in the morning. She was 7 pounds and 11 ounces and 20 inches long. She is a lovely, cute little baby. I can't wait to meet her. I'm not going to get to meet her probably at least until next year at Celtic Festival. That is the general plan, that my son, his wife, and their little one will be coming out to visit then. That baby is so cute. My goodness. Thank you for the congratulations. And I send all those congratulations to my son, Will the Historian, and his lovely, lovely wife, Lauren. It is so nice to be able to brag about new additions. This actually, believe it or not, brings me to 5 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild, and 1 great-grandchild on the way. So yes, I think I've reached that point that I am indeed, ladies and gentlemen, old. There she goes. Very good. Davey, this would be a fine time to bring out Mini Mayhem. What do you think?
Hi.
Let's hear what he has.
Ahoy, mate.
Okay.
Ahoy, mates. Mini Mayhem here with Joke of the Week. Sponsored by our good friend Travis Romy of Salt City Comics. What did the pirate say was the best tool in the ocean? Think about it, and I will give you the answer at the end of the show.
The best tool in the ocean. I hate to answer it and then ruin the end of the show's reveal. So I know. I have a piece of paper here. I'm going to make a prediction. Let's see here. That. There's my prediction. We'll see how good a magician I really am. All right, let's see. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, this week in nautical history, sponsored by our good friends at Ancient City Sirens. Ladies and gentlemen, if you need a great dance crew, and I mean great, then you need to call Miss Gina at Ancient City Sirens and get them on your entertainment lineup. Take it away, Davey.
Yeah, Mr. Gino.
We begin this week in nautical history. On April 28th, 1770, British Captain James Cook, aboard HMS Endeavour, first lands in Australia at Botany Bay. April 29th, 1587, English naval officer Francis Drake sails into Cadiz, Spain, and sinks the Spanish fleet, thereby singeing the King of Spain's beard and delaying the Spanish invasion by a year. April 30th, 1942, first submarine built on Great Lakes launched, Montinowak, Wisconsin. May 1st, 1898, U.S. Admiral George Dewey commands, "You may fire when you are ready, Gridley," as U.S. routes Spanish fleet at Manila. May 2nd, 1497, John Cabot's expedition departs Bristol, searching for new lands across the Atlantic. May 3rd, 1945, German ocean liner SS Cap Arcona, laden with prisoners, is sunk by the Royal Air Force in the western Baltic Sea, killing 5,800, one of the largest maritime losses of life in World War II. And finally, on May 4th, 1982, British destroyer HMS Sheffield hit by Exocet rocket off Falkland Islands. 20 of her crew died. And that was this week in nautical history.
Very good, Davey. So always wonderful nautical history there that everybody can learn from. Appreciate your good job there. And quote of the week, sponsored by Spyglass Travel. If you want a good walking tour of St. Augustine, why, Spyglass Travel is the place to call. In fact, I just had a thought, Davey, while we're downtown on Sunday, if Spyglass Travel is downtown anywhere doing some tours, maybe it would be a good opportunity for us to get a couple of shots for what we want to do for them.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But Spyglass Travel, ladies and gentlemen, they'll give you a grand walking tour of the oldest city in the nation. And guess what? It's a good cardio workout at the same time you're learning. So that's always a good thing. My friends Kevin and Angie at Spyglass Travel always do a fantastic job of giving you the history of the oldest city. Let's see our quote, Davey. You cannot swim for new horizons until you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. That's a good one. That's kind of like saying, move forward and forget the past. I like that. Very good, Davey. A good one it is. I love that one. And of course, we now move into 8 bells. Now, 8 bells is something we used to do at the beginning of the show, but we're now doing it in the middle. And Davey, how many do we have? Oh, that's a good idea. Sponsored by Marco's Pizza. Yes, if you want a good pizza, they have. I should get one of their pizzas tonight. I don't know what it is, but their pizzas are my favorite of all pizzas that we have here in St. Augustine now. I really, really love it. And before he goes, thank you, everyone. Will the historian is popping up there real quick. He's got a new baby, and he needs to get some sleep while Abigail sleeps, because he's already said the baby is a night owl. So go get some sleep, enjoy, and have fun with those diapers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go ahead, Davey. Let's hit 8 bells.
4 of them.
4 of them it is. Will Hutchins, born Marshall Lowell Hutchison, an American actor most noted for playing the lead role of the young lawyer Tom Brewster in the Western television series Sugarfoot, which aired on ABC from 57 to 61 for 69 episodes. Hutchins was also cast as a guest star on Cheyenne, Bronco, Maverick, and 77 Sunset Strip. He was 94 years old. Laura Jill Lar Park Lincoln was an American actress. She appeared in the 1987 film House 2, The Second Story as Kate, the 1988 horror film Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood as Tina Shepard, and a 1988 episode of the anthology horror series Freddy's Nightmares as Karen. Lincoln appeared in the television series Knots Landing from 87 to 91. She was 63 years old. Stephen Douglas McMichael, named Mongo, Ming, and Ming the Merciless, was an American professional football player and professional wrestler. He was a defensive tackle for 15 seasons in the NFL, primarily for the Chicago Bears. He played college football for the Texas Longhorns and was selected by the New England Patriots in the 1980 NFL Draft. After retiring from playing football, he wrestled in the World Championship Wrestling and was part of the Four Horsemen stable. He was 67 years old. And Bertha Lewis Habel, better known as Lulu Roman, was an American comedian, singer, and author. She is known for having been a regular on the comedy music show Hee Haw, which ran from 61 to 93. In 85, Roman won a Dove Award, and in 99, she was inducted into the Country Gospel Music Hall of Fame with fellow artists Andy Griffin, Barbara Mandrell, David L. Cook, Gary S. Paxton, Loretta Lynn, Jimmy Snow, and Jody Miller. She was 78 years old. And those are our 8 bells for this week, ladies and gentlemen. I urge you to raise a glass, to give a toast to not only them, but their fans and their families, and we honor them always. 8 bells, Davey. I see a few more that have signed in. Stephen B., buenas noches to you also, and Nightingale in Florida. Very good. Good to see everyone. This Week in History, sponsored by Dick's Wings. I don't have to say a lot because we made a commercial for them. So, Davey, take it away.
Where does the captain take his hungry crew for a good lunch special? Why, Dick's Wings. Daily lunch specials even a pirate could afford. Why, look, a table filled with flavors and tastes for even the most discriminating of pirates. A great lunch and a great time is always had by all at Dick's Wings, St. Augustine, Florida, US 1 South.
We begin This Week in History on April 28th, 1934. U.S. President FDR signs Home Loaners Loan Act. April 29th, 1975. Vietnam War. U.S. begins to evacuate its citizens from Saigon in Operation Frequent Wind in response to advancing North Vietnamese forces, bringing an end to U.S. involvement in the war. April 30th, 1789. George Washington is inaugurated as the first President of the United States of America at Federal Hall in New York City. May 1st, 1939, Batman first appears in Detective Comics number 27. May 2nd, 1865, U.S. President Andrew Johnson offers a $100,000 reward for capture of Jefferson Davis. May 3rd, 1830. First regular steam train passenger service in the U.S. starts in South Carolina with U.S.-built locomotive, the Best Friend of Charleston. And finally, on May 4th, 1999, The Mummy, film directed by Stephen Sommers starring Brandon Fraser, Rachel Weisz, and John Hannah, premieres in the U.S. And that was This Week in History.
Aye, very good. I love the movie The Mummy. That was a great movie. A very good movie indeed. I just saw somebody made a comment real quick. Pop that down. Nightingale in Florida said, don't forget Pope Francis. Well, he died last Monday, or was it Sunday? So we did do a bit on him last week. So we did do that. And so speaking of that, I've gone around and told everybody the Catholic Church is honoring my birthday. My birthday is May 7th. And that's the day that they will start the Catholic conclave to figure out who the new pope will be in honor of my birthday. Can you imagine that? How honored I am for that to happen. All right. Now I'm hungry. This place looks delicious. I hope you are talking about Dick's Wings. It's a great place with TVs all around, tunes to current sports, a fun atmosphere. We love Dick's Wings. They are a big sponsor of us, and we do enjoy them a lot. So, in fact, we have our holiday pirate party there between Christmas and New Year's, and I believe this year it's the Monday after Christmas, which I think is the 29th. So, and Blackball's birthday is May 8th. Well, happy birthday to you. I raise a glass for you. Very good. All right. And let's see. I don't see anything else. So a shot across the bow. I don't have anything this week. There were so many things that I thought of doing, but I just did not do one for no particular reason. So I'm just going to say this. Let's everybody start being nice to everybody. I know we're pirates, but let's start considering how we should be treating our fellow friends, family, neighbors, and even people we run into. That's right, Nightingale. You were in New Orleans partying up, so you missed last week's Monday's episode. That's absolutely right. I remember that now. So this would be a good time to ask a question, and then we can use this as a poll. I put to my crew, that would be Mr. Longwood and Miss Mandy Jo, the thought that we might change the show from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock because we have people across the country that are starting to tune in. So we're curious what anybody might think. Now, Mandy brings up a good point. You can bring your point up again if you like. Where do we get most of our points and percentages and everything else?
The after hours, so the replay views.
So people that are watching us off of our downloads is where we get most of our. So the time may or may not really have a detriment or a positive or a negative on our show. Then is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it could impact some of your live streaming a little bit, but that's traffic to just get to the page for hours viewed, but the income mostly comes from the replay view. So if you move it later, if you have all the people that are watching the replay that jump on later, they're now all live. So you'll be losing all of them. And then people like Zachary, who's trying to get in bed by 9, I'm not sure his time zone, he would probably miss it, and then he'd have to go try to remember to catch the replay, which we can tell Nightingale's not good at.
So let's see. So maybe it's not even a point worth worrying about then.
I don't know. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I don't see.
Well, maybe we'll do a little short and do a poll and see. 100% in favor. Love the show, but it overlaps with dinner with wife getting off work. And Stephen lives in California. It would be better at 6. Give me time to see from the beginning. So if we changed it to 9, then that would be 6 out there. And so we can't obviously accommodate everybody. And I know that getting people to watch the show in the after time is just as important, if not more important, than watching the show live, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I guess we'll just I guess it may be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and there is a compromise to it. We could always move the show to 8:30. That's a half hour later,
Well, how will
So-
that impact live guests that you have in the East Coast or in Florida coming to sit down with you? Is it going to adversely impact their ability to be on the show if it goes too late?
That is another issue. You're absolutely right. And in fact, it could be a big issue with some of our guests that we are trying to round up and get on the show. Because the way, and this is a perfect time to talk about this, the way we're going to start doing guests, the guest will be on the show for just a short bit of time in our 45-minute show that we're doing, because we're trying to keep the show at a 40 to 45-minute time frame. Just because our analyticals have proven that if we go past that time frame, people are apt to leave the show anyway. So what we're shooting for doing, and our first guest will be coming up starting in May, to have the guest be on the show for a 15 or 20-minute spot, but then when the show ends at 8:45, those people that are members through Patreon or YouTube, you will automatically get a different link. And I could be wrong on how this works because I'm not an electronic genius, but you'll get a different link and will immediately, within minutes, start up the new show. I understand from other friends of mine that watch other podcasts that this is the way a lot of the shows go now. They do a show and then they do a guest only show. And that second segment of the show would be for the guest and for members only. So it is, it's a way for us. It's not necessarily, and I want to make sure people understand this. This is not a way that we're trying to figure out how to make money and make people pay for the show. But it is a way to try to get our membership, our paid membership up, because we do have to take care of certain things. But at the same time, those people that would pay a membership are the ones that are going to sit through and listen to the whole thing because they paid for it. So it's these are things we're thinking about, and I'm very much I very much don't want to do anything that is going to alienate or offend or insult any of our fans and listeners. So, but we still have to consider how we run the show that is best for the show overall. So maybe the time change is nothing that we need to worry about. Maybe we need to put our effort into making sure everybody is joining up in our forces so that we can have good membership. And a couple of the other things we're thinking about, we're adding a new membership to our Patreon. We just haven't done it yet. But one of those things in a higher membership would be that you see the boxes that you see with me and Davey and Mandy here. Well, if the guest is here, they're going to be in the box with me. If they're streaming, they're going to be in another box. But we're thinking about another membership level that's a little bit higher. And your benefit would be that we're going to put you in a box and put you in the show with our guests and with our crew. So these are the things that we're looking at and trying to see what's best to make the whole show work. And I don't want to alienate anybody, but I do want to keep this show going in a positive direction. And so far, our numbers for 183 episodes have always been going up. The only time it went down was after the first of this last year when YouTube kind of did a big house cleaning. And they found bots, and not just us. Mandy, it was across the board, everybody, right?
Yeah, they were knocking out. They do it quite often, but they did a little bit more than that. When this last audit went through, it wasn't just looking for their bots and the scam accounts. They were looking for minors accounts that were under the age of 13 and putting more restrictions. So for example, Anara, her YouTube is now managed 100% under me, and she doesn't actually have access to it. She can't access YouTube Studio. She's been blocked out of all of it during this audit. So a lot of her subscriptions, because she actually had subscribed over to you guys, were removed. So any of them that couldn't produce ID that got put into this audit lost all their subscriptions and stuff as well. So
Wow.
It was a huge mass overhaul. Yeah, Anara was pretty upset because she just started a secondary channel.
All right, Davey, good one. You got it there. Well, so here's another point for us to discuss. Our show is family friendly. If our show with our guests, which is for paid members only, crosses the line a little bit, will that hurt our show in any way, shape, or form, or do we still have to pay attention to that?
It shouldn't, because we just mark it different. I just looked up to double check how it would feed through StreamYard to YouTube to make it members only, and it was actually super simple. So it's something that I can easily hit like that. So,
all right.
And I can show Davey how to do it real quick as well. So if I'm not, he can go hit it real fast.
Well, it's important for us to upgrade the show, change the look of the show. And speaking of that, before the show, Davey and I were talking about a few things that we want to change that we already do in the show, but we want to make the faces of certain things, like our videos, our opening video, and those things. We want to make some of those things, we want to improve them. We want to make them snappier, or whatever else you want to do. So what are the rates you're looking at on memberships? Well, we have a membership of, I think what is it, $1 and $5? Is that what our membership is, Davey?
Yes.
So we're thinking of creating, and so that's the Powder Monkey at $1, and is it First Mate at the $5 level?
First Mate, yes.
First Mate. So what we're actually thinking of doing is adding a captain's membership, and the captain's membership would be somewhere in the $7 to $10 range, and just leave it at that. We got some really good advice from a good friend of Mandy's, Daniel, right? Got the name right this time? Daniel?
Yes.
Daniel has been doing podcasts and books and things for quite a few years, many years longer than us. And he gave us some really good advice a little over a month ago. It's one of the reasons we changed the format of the show down to a 40 to 45 minute show, 37 to 45 minutes, somewhere in there. And so that's one of the reasons we changed the format, because we were losing people at the 42 to 44 minute mark because our show was just getting too long. Even when we had the guests, and some of our shows with our guests, for those of you that have watched, some of those shows went 2 hours or more. I was having a good time. The guest was enjoying themselves. Many of the people were watching it, but that we were losing people in the watching part of it. So we've decided we're breaking it down. So there'll be 3 memberships. We have not created the third one yet. And that is Powder Monkey is $1 a month. First Mate is $5. And we'll create the captain's membership. And it's kind of we're torn somewhere in the $7 to $10 mark. So we'll see where it goes from there. And we'll make that decision and set that up before let me look at my calendar. We were going to do this all before the 5th of May, but we have an out-of-town guest coming in. And so the 5th of May, the 4th and the 5th of May is going to be very busy, because we are going to utilize our out-of-town guest so much that she'll be wanting to go home. And that's Mandy is coming in. In fact, next week's show, Davey, Mandy, and I will all be at my main table all together. This will be the first time, episode 184 will be the first time we've ever done a show where we're all 3 in the same room to do the show. So we're looking forward to that. So starting the 12th of May, we will have this membership thing anchored down proper and be making the announcements and moving on from there. So be ready for that. Mandy is reading some of that, so we're all right there. I see a few messages come in, but let me reiterate. Powder Monkey will be $1 a month. First Mate is $5 a month, and Captain's membership will be somewhere under 10. It'll be 10 or under. We will not go above 10. Sounds like a logical pursuit with the after show. How long are you looking at runtime for membership shows? I don't think we need to worry about a limit on those, because even if you can't, the way I understand it, and I'm going to say this, and then Mandy can correct me because I'm technologically not savvy. On the membership show with a guest, even if we ran the show, let's just say we ran the show, it was 2 hours of questions and answers and just a good time. Those people that have paid membership, they not only will have access to see the show live, but they will also have access to go into a private area of our YouTube channel and see the show whenever they want. Correct, Mandy?
Correct. So that will work with the YouTube memberships. I need to figure out how to get extended videos for Patreon.
Okay.
But for the YouTube members, they'll have a membership area that they can go into. So like right now, you have both Zachary and I just forgot her name, and I'm like dork today because I'm thinking it on the tip of my tongue here.
Nightingale.
Nightingale. If you notice, they've got a different color. They have extra little graphics because they're YouTube members. So all it does is keep giving them little things that kind of boost them to do a little bit more toys, but YouTube can control it. I think Patreon might have a hosting thing on the backside as well, that when I'm down there, I can play with it with Davey and see what we can come up with.
Sounds like a good idea. And we're going to try to make sure that we equate the YouTube memberships and the Patreon memberships so that they're right in the same ballpark with all of them too, so that it just works out and it's not confusing for me especially. So there you go. Can Mini Mayhem do blue material on the membership portion? Mm-hmm. We just had a conversation. We were just talking about that. Not necessarily Mini Mayhem, but what are we limited, because our show, we keep our show family friendly. When we go into the membership side, can we cross the line a little bit? I think depending on how far over the line we go will depend on what happens to our show.
Mini Mayhem
public
does have Mini Mayhem does have jokes that could not be used on.
Yes. And what did you say, Mandy?
Because it's not technically public, you have more availability to have it not mess with any sort of sponsorships or like advertising and things like that, because it's on a lock system. So
it's also important for us to be able to cross the line, because some of those shows, in the past, we've had conversations that were on pirate history, and there's some bits and pieces of pirate history that should not be discussed with children. We always talk about that in the museum. There's bits and pieces of pirate history that we do not talk about on children's tours in the museum, because it's just, I mean, just a perfect example, and I can say it without crossing the line here. And this is how I put it when I do an adult tour that might have a few children in it as a pirate museum. Let's talk about Blackbeard, for example. Blackbeard and his crew were suffering from a terrible disease. And I always tell everybody it is a disease that is brought on by adult extracurricular activity. That's the easiest way to put it. So, yes, can we cross the line? I'm sure we can. And I'm sure we're going to want to with some of the things that we might talk about. So we're looking at tweaking things up, making it even much more fun, because it's fun for me. When I have a good guest, I just enjoy having good conversation. And if you have the captain's membership level, you get to be here and I don't have to ask the question. You'll be in one of those boxes and you can ask the question yourself if you want, depending on who the guest is and if you're actually watching. And then you will be in the follow-up. So, and that's the other thing too, even if our guest show goes for 2 hours and it's past your bedtime, Zachary Harker, you can always go back in and watch the rest of the show at any time you want, but it's still in a private area and members only will be able to view it. So we're also working on that idea that in the members only, we're working on a couple of tutorial kind of things. The quartermaster of the St. Augustine Swashbucklers does leather, and he's got a couple of ideas on how to do some very simple, easy leather projects that anybody can do. But that's a tutorial that we hope that people would like to see, and that'll probably go into our private area also. And Jim
maybe
said,
Mandy Joe's blacksmith friend could do a tutorial.
Aye, that's true. That would be really cool. We could do that too. So if Al Capone, if he had a beard, would have had it smoldering too. Well, you know what, Jim? From all the pictures I've seen and everything I know about Al Capone, he was smoldering always. He never went anywhere without a cigar stuck in his face. All right. If there's any other questions about the direction we're going, throw them up there. More than willing to answer as much as we can. And I think I've been able to answer all of it within the availability of not making a mistake. Right, Mandy?
Yeah.
So I may have a vague idea on how things work. And I'm not drinking too much rum tonight. So there you go. I know that I was hoping that Parlay 8 would pop up on the show tonight, but I know that they just did a big event, a big pirate event this past weekend. So I'm sure they were just getting home today. So there you have it. We have no guest tonight. As I said, next week will be the first show we've ever done where all three of us are going to be in the same room at the same table, having a good conversation. And maybe we'll even have a few more answers to any questions you have about the new direction the show is going, because I will have Mandy right there to answer everything. I highlight next week's guest. Well, next week's guest is Mandy. Mm-hmm. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about her. You get to learn who Mandy is and what Mandy does and bring her in. I mean, everybody knows Mayhem or knows what Mayhem is. And Davy Longwood is pretty obvious, but it's time to bring Mandy into the forefront. So there we are. We're going to bring her into the forefront and have a good show that night. Let's see. Oh, joke of the week with Mini Mayhem. We need the reveal. So go ahead, Davey. Bring old Mini Mayhem back in.
Okay. It's time for the answer to the joke of the week. What did the pirate say was the best tool in the ocean? The answer is a hammerhead shark.
Can you see my answer? Oh, you can't.
No.
There you go. Look at that. I got it right. Very good. Hammerhead shark. All right. I just bottled some spiced rum mead this evening and it goes down smooth. Well, that is just completely bad for you to even tell us. Bad form, my friend. Bad form. Unless you were going to ship it down here to us, then I'd be all right with it. All right. And we might even have some rum on the show next week, because it is 2 days before my birthday. So maybe we'll have a birthday drinking for Captain Mayhem. That'll be a lot of fun too. I can't think of anything else, and we're getting on into that time where it's time for us to get ready to ship out, leave the dock. So Davey, how about our thank you video?
The Captain Quarters Podcast is always searching the world for history, knowledge, and adventure. It takes a crew to run a podcast, so we take this opportunity to thank those who help keep this podcast going. The crew: Captain William Mayhem, Navigator Davy Longwood, Cartographer Mandy Joe. Our charities we support: Alias Acres, Humane Society, Inc. The 3 major charities we support, but always room for more. You too could be part of the show and support the show in many ways. Go to Patreon. For a small monthly contribution, become a Powder Monkey or First Mate sponsor. Go to YouTube and hit the like and subscribe buttons to join our ranks and support the show. It does take a crew. Thank you.
Good job, Davey. Good job. And our platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, once the show finishes on YouTube, it automatically downloads to Spotify, Instagram, Twitch, and Facebook. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a Facebook page. And I just noticed today we only have 281 people on it, Davey. I think I'm going to do some extra work on trying to get more people on our Facebook page. If you don't want to watch us, which I can understand, I'm not exactly the best looking pirate in the ship, then you can listen to us. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Castbox, Stitcher, Twitter, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Always some way for you to either watch or listen to us. We do appreciate that in either venue. What's our numbers? Are they good? Good job. Our numbers, as I said, they're still going up. So that's always a good thing. Even if it goes up by 1, I'm happy with it. So we're doing a good job. We have a lot of people here. And if you have a suggestion, you have a thought, you have a process, something you think would make the show even better, or even the name of a guest. I keep getting a phone message from somebody down in south of us that has a guest he wants me to do on the show. And I keep forgetting to call him, but I'm going to be catching up on everything this week. But send us a message, Captain's Quarters Podcast 21@gmail.com. Let us know how and what we can do to improve the show to your liking. We do the show for everybody, not just for the pleasure of us being here. So we hope you'll join us in any way, shape, or form by sending in an email and letting us know what you think. We like compliments too. So send us something if you like what we're doing, if you don't like what we're doing. I always say this, and I'm getting ready to start advertising my acting seminar, for I'm hoping the first weekend in June. And one of the things I always say, there is 2 kinds of criticism in the world, constructive and destructive. Destructive, obviously, by the word destruct, shows that that's not good criticism. Constructive criticism means you're constructing something. And constructive criticism, I never turn down. So always feel free to send us a message at Captain's Quarters Podcast 21@gmail.com. If you have problems remembering, Captain's Quarters Podcast is easy, but if you can't remember the number 21, isn't that the year we started, Davey?
It is.
It is. On Talk Like a Pirate Day weekend, in fact, we started. So there you go. Twisted Star. Let me see here what they're saying. They just popped in. Bobby, one of the dads from Scout Pack 130 out of Deltona. I'm glad to finally catch you on. Hope things are finding you well. Why, we thank you very much, Bobby, and pleasure to have you aboard. I hope that you'll like and subscribe to us so you won't miss any shows if you can in the future. And of course, you can always watch one of our shows as they download. There are 183 episodes. I don't even know how many shorts there are. Do you, Davey, know how many shorts we put out there?
Nope.
And we're getting ready while Mandy is here in town this weekend on Sunday and Monday. We're doing a photo shoot on Sunday evening out on the beach. And we're going to be doing some stuff in town on Sunday during the day. We've got some ideas for some photos and some short shoots. I know I want to do one shoot that I've never done for us, and I want to do it on St. Augustine itself. So ladies and gentlemen, this weekend is going to be a great weekend, a lot of fun. And we thank each and every one of you for being here. I think that's it, Davey. What do you say?
Yes.
I guess we'll close the show at 8:44, right on schedule. It's time to leave the dock. So, Davey, how do we close the show?
Part of the podcast.
Part of the crew.
Always. We can't do it without you. We could, but it's not as much fun. We enjoy having everybody there. We enjoy having you there on the show with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, catch us next week and every Monday at 8 p.m. No time change in the works at this time. And we love having everybody there. Cheers. Take us out to sea, Davey.
With wit and charm, they make it clear.